Today's lesson we're going to talk about to capo or not to capo. What's a capo? That's a capo. There's all kinds of them out there. What it does, clamps over the neck. Whatever fret you clamp it to becomes the key of the guitar in open tuning. So that gives us a G. So we'd be in open G tuning. See, put that G on there, and when you put a capo on, most of the time you're going to have to adjust your tuning. So we'll take that back off there. So if you wanted to change the key, this guitar is currently tuned to open E. So let's say the key of the song changed to G, and if you didn't put the capo on and you were doing a song in G, you would lose the ability to do like those open string licks that you do. Would be hard to do in the key of G because you'd have to go just kind of hard to do. But if you put the capo on there, one thing that needs to be said about doing this, if you're going to use a capo a lot, is depending on where you put the capo, the higher up you go, it's going to decrease your action between the string and the frets. So what you might have to do on your guitar is raise the action up, the distance from the strings to the neck. Raise that up a little bit so you don't get any fret outs or anything. You want to change the key to songs in A. Like I said, you need to adjust the tuning depending where you put it. Sometimes it'll stay in tune, sometimes it won't. Angling the capo sometimes will correct anything, but usually it's better put the capo on, check your tuning real quick, go from there. The times that I would use a capo would be if I only have very little bit of time between songs, if I don't have the time to change guitars and have multiple tuned guitars to switch between different tunings. Usually I play with two guitars, this guitar, which is an open E, and then I use a Strat that I built that is usually tuned to standard tuning. So there's, I can do the modified tunings to where it's partially open tuned, and then the rest of the guitar is left in standard tuning by just changing, say, the tuning of one or two frets by a half step or a whole step. That can help, but there's other times when it's just as easy to throw on a capo depending on what song you're doing. And the thing to notice is when you put the capo on, the further up you go, it really changes your guitar sound to be more like a high register instrument than the register that it is having the low strings in there. But it's all about preference. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. There's a lot of guys who love capos and use them all the time. One of the kings, I think it's Albert King, used to use one a lot. I mean, he'd have it all the way up into here for, if he's in the key of D or C or something. So it just depends. Jimmy Vaughn, Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother, plays guitar, or did play guitar for the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Now he does his own thing. He's another one that uses the capo a lot, and he plays in standard tuning most of the time. And you can use a capo in standard tuning also if you want. That's another whole discussion. But for open tuning, to go from keys and still be able to keep your open string wrist, kind of need to be able to throw that capo on there. A lot of guys you'll see will, when they're not using it, clip it down here, Now with the snark tuners and everybody seems to be having those on their guitars, you kind of losing places to clip it onto. But figure out what works, throw it in your gig bag, have it in case sometimes you might need it. There might be other times you don't need it.